Hey everybody, what's up? It's Felris back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends today. We've got some news for you on the account, and I'm going to show you some really cool strategies to beat Amius, some really cool champions that you can use in this video right now. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we need to cover is faction wars. What has happened in my faction wars journey today as we grow ever closer to Lydia and getting into hard mode? Well, I actually finished the tribe crypt, and the way I did this was I actually built out a bellower to level 50, and then I used him as food later on for someone I needed for the dwarf crypt, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But I actually built out a bellower to level 50. I just ran him slow. I had my man eater and everything. Do the protection. Korugar was my main damage dealer, which is really weird because he shouldn't be a damage dealer. Ugo for drop defense and healing, all that kind of stuff. Counterattacks there from Skullcrusher. But we finished the crypt, and that is what matters. So whenever I get another solid Ogren, I will add them into the team. Hey, you, stop right there. Click the link in the description below to get a free Corrado, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up your account in Raid. Here's exactly how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description below and register with a brand new email. Log in and complete the tutorial. You'll find Corrado in your inbox, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up. If you're looking for a great start in Raid, this is your chance. Make sure you get your free Corrado as well as 3 free epics by clicking my link right away. For Dwarf Crypt, we actually made a ton of progress. We 3-starred each of these stages. We could have 3-starred the boss stage, but I'm using Rearguard Sergeant on the team, and she died from the ally protection right as the boss was killed by Geomancer's passive. So there is that. I did also 60 Thalia, whatever her name is. This lady right here. She's actually really good. I have her in lethal and cruel. Not in the best stats. She has 3.3k attack and 204 crit damage. So really not the best stats, but she does hit very, very, very hard. So no regrets in building her out as well. You know, this is where I put my bellower. You know, Mountain King, of course, hits very hard. And then I've got Geomancer and Morak. I may have to 60 Rearguard Sergeant in order to finish the crypt, but we will see. So far, we're doing really, really well with this faction. I should be able to finish it. Maybe not the next time it comes around, but if not the next time it comes around, the time after that. Definitely something that we want to do. We've got a couple stars to clear up here, but we're almost to Lydia. We're less than 100 stars away. We're like 80 some away. Lizardman is still the biggest issue here. So there is that. But you guys clicked on this video so that you could get an Amius strategy going. So here we go. I am going to show you how to beat Amius on this rotation of Curse City. We may actually be able to do hard mode as well this rotation, because on hard mode, we can use my most powerful Amius faction, which is the Undead Hordes. Now, I think the Undead Rotation is the easiest rotation to do Amius in. As you can see, I've already cleared him on normal, and this is the squad. So we've got Morrigan, Calamitous Arbiter, Bot Alcazar, and Tribune Heraclides. We're going to go over all these guys' builds. All right, so as far as the actual champions go and their builds and the strategy here, as you can see, we are building around Tribune Heraclides. So Tribune is the faction unity champion for the Undead Hordes. He has a lot of really cool stuff going on to his kit. So his A1 heals allies when he's dead. His passive with a certain number of allies teams up and ally attacks with every single ally whenever they attack, which, you know, healing all allies by 20% of their max HP again on his A1. His A2 ignores 100% defense. If the target's killed, revives a random ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter. If the target was killed and there are no dead allies, resets the cooldown of this skill instead. It's really good for arena. The A3 is really interesting. It's an AoE and destroys the HP of all enemies by 10%, which is pretty good against Amius. And then he's got a self shield, and then he instantly activates it whenever this champion is revived. But mainly what we want him to do, then he ramps. He ramps his damage whenever he's revived. Whenever the champion is revived, and increases the damage inflicted by the champion by 20%, up to 20%. And then, of course, the 3 faction allies, whenever the champion is dead and an ally attacks an enemy, this champion will join that attack using their default skill. And most of the time, we just want him dead. And for that reason, we have no gear on him. He's going to be our main healer in this fight. We've also got Calamitous. Calamitous is going to be our main source of damage. He's bringing decreased defense. He's bringing weaken. He's a really good mythical to have because the boss forces us to change forms, and he's got also a drop defense on his second form as well. And then he has a hit that scales based on the number of debuffs. So you can throw up the drop defense, the weaken, the block buffs. Then the boss will force you to change forms. You can throw up a hex, and then you can stick on the final testament here. And of course, he also ramps and heals if targets are under hex and all that fun. But Alcazar, he's also going to be another healer. He's going to be our cleanser today. Removes all debuffs from all allies. Places 2 continuous heal buffs on all allies for 2 turns. Places 2 5% poison debuffs on all enemies for 2 turns. So you're going to get a little bit of damage out of him. And then his passive, all allies inflict 20% more damage against targets under poison debuffs. Again, that's really good with Calamitous. And then, of course, we have our Arbiter. Arbiter is going to do the Mentor of Heroes. She's going to be our turn meter booster. She's going to be our reviver so that we can get off the 4 Vladimir and destroy some more max HP, all that kind of stuff. She's going to do some healing as well. Mostly she's there to make us go faster, make us take more turns, and a little bit of reviving action as well. But I think the most important champion on this team, outside of maybe Heracles and Calamitous, is Morrigan. So is, in my opinion, a very underrated legendary champion, and her very best place is her A1. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Her A2 has a 75% chance of stealing all buffs from a target enemy, also has a 75% chance of placing a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, will place a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns instead if the target is a boss. Her A3 has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meters of all enemies by 20%, fills the turn meters of all allies by 20%, and places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. All of that is great. We don't really need her A2. The boss is immune to decreased speed, but, you know, she does have a War Master Mastery, which is great. But, you know, she's going to give us more turn meter fill with the increased speed. But what really makes her amazing for this boss is her passive here. She Who Is Death, at the start of each turn, places a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on the enemy with the lowest HP. This debuff cannot be removed, transferred, spread, or have its duration increased or decreased by enemies or allies. In other words, this is a protected heal reduction that she places every single time she takes a turn. Now, we have her running decently fast at 280 speed. Again, we're going to have a lot of turn meter fill between Morrigan and Arbiter, right? 280 speed and 399 accuracy, so the odds of us getting resisted are just 3% as usual. Again, protected heal reduction, so the boss can't flip it, which means we can just cut down the boss without having to do anything at all. So I'm just going to show you a few turns, show you guys how this works, and really it's just as simple as that. If you have a Morrigan, I definitely encourage 60ing her because she is just such a beast for this boss. All right, we buff up with the increased attack. We're going to go ahead and buff up with the increased speed as well. We're going to stick out the poisons. There we go. We're going to actually use the A2 here, the Horde of Calamity skill. Bam, just like that. We're going to A1 with Arbiter. We really don't need anything. I like to use the 4 Vladimir just to destroy some max HP there. It doesn't really do anything other than destroy max HP in case somehow the heal reduction falls off and Morrigan dies or something. All right, this is dead, which means he is just going to keep ally attacking, which means we can just use Arbiter's A1 over and over and over in order to get some heals, guys. So we're going to go in and do the, whatever it's called, the Necroclism, I think. Whatever it is. So we've got, as you can see, we're all healed up. We did get stunned. Calamitous changes forms. It's really nice to have him on the team because, once again, he's just going to stick up that drop defense one more time, right? We're going to go ahead and Arbiter's going to A1, just keeping us nice and healed up. Bot Alcazar helping us out as well. And it really just, it's rinse and repeat for this entire boss. You know, if your Calamitous hits decently hard, this isn't gonna take long at all, right? Especially since we have buffing and increased attack. There's the final testament. We're already a quarter of the way done with the fight, right? We're gonna go ahead and put up the poisons. We're gonna go ahead and A1 from Arbiter. I mean, it just does not take long at all. The boss never heals, and you know, our main damage dealer can always do damage because he's a mythical, and he's a damaged mythical in both forms. So there is that. We're gonna go ahead and do that. Sweet. We're gonna go ahead and throw up the weaken. I mean, the weaken is super important, right? I mean, like, look, like, this boss is literally not a problem at all with this team. Just make sure everybody's decently tanky enough, in order to survive, basically. All you really need is these 3 tanks in the middle. Arbiter, Morrigan, and Baudel just need to be able to survive. As long as they can do that, yeah, and it does get a little bit hard with the heal reduction that the boss puts out. But as long as they can do that, and as long as Arbiter stays alive, which she usually can, right, it really shouldn't be a problem at all. Again, you know, the turn meter fill helping Baudel here. He should be able to cleanse. No, he'll cleanse next turn. Okay. Still, we've got the increased speed up, though, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. One problem that this team might have is if Arbiter dies, but if Arbiter dies, you know, you can just restart the run. Yeah, she shouldn't be the target of this A1 here, but just in case she is, you know. And then, okay, so we go in. All right, Arbiter's still alive. She is pretty tanky, and then we can just revive the entire squad one more time. Of course, getting that destroy max HP from Heraclides. We are losing our healing, but, you know, that's all right. Let's see. He's got the stun there. All right, so we're going to go in, and Calamitous gets a turn. He's going to throw up the drop defense and the Hex. We're in a bit of a rough spot, but it's not too bad, right? It's not too bad at all. We're still placing the heal reduction. We're still keeping ourselves healed up. That's really what matters. Nice, a 250k slap from Calamitous there. As you can see, this team is having no problem at all. Let me know what your thoughts are for Amius in the comments below. We did lose our revive, we did lose our Morrigan. That is unfortunate, but you know, he's gonna change forms anyways, so it shouldn't be too much at all. I do think this is the easiest Amius rotation, so if you have, especially if you have a Morrigan, so if you can clear at least on normal, I think it's well worth doing. If you need any further tips, you can join our Discord. There is a link to the Discord in the description below. Yeah, as you can see, we did lose our Arbiter there before they could revive, which is unfortunate. However, I mean, we do still do enough damage, but we're still staying tanky. Man, this run might fail, and that would be unfortunate. But hey, you know what? The point still remains, right? The point still remains that this team takes care of the boss very easily. Of course, there's always a little bit of RNG, which is why we failed the run there. There's always a little bit of RNG with Amius, but, you know, I did clear him, and I did use that team. Let me know what your thoughts are in your undead teams. What kind of niche champions do you like to use for these? In the comments below. I've been Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends, and I'll see you in another video.